folks, this is Stacey, the Teen Services Library Assistant at the Goffstown Public Library, and you're watching Essential Life Skills for Teens. These simple videos aim to help teens on their road to independence. So someone asked me recently, how do you come up with all these ideas for the videos? Well, first, I have a handy dandy worksheet. This worksheet has a list of skills that teens need to be well equipped as they move into adulthood. But also, really, a lot of my ideas come from hands-on experience. Things that have happened as I've raised my own two teens who are launching into adulthood now. Today's episode is one of those pulled directly from something that happened in my household. It has to do with loss of power in the kitchen, my teen being home alone for an extended period of time, and lots of text messages on how to get that power back on. So that whole scenario made me realize I'm not sure I touched on some things that could happen unexpectedly when my teen was home alone. So that's what today's episode is all about. And quite frankly, some of these things I'm touching on, you really need to know when you're out living on your own. So it'd be a great launching point. So before you touch anything in your home, it is important to have a good plan in place. And this plan should be between you, the teen, and the adults that take care of you in the home. So if you are a teen watching this alone, now may be a good time to go ahead and grab that adult in your life, your guardian, and why don't you watch this together? Let's call this Things Teens Should Know That Can Unexpectedly Happen When They Are Home Alone. Yes, I know that is a mouthful, but that's really what this episode is all about. So you get the idea. Let's start with unexpected thing number 1. You are in the kitchen, or maybe you are in your room, or maybe you're in the living room, but you are plugging things into an outlet. You are listening to music. You have the hairdryer going. Lots of electricity is being used, and all of a sudden, the power cuts out. Well, what just happened? Most likely, you tripped the circuit breaker. What is a circuit breaker and where can you find it? Well, the circuit breaker panel, sometimes people call that a fuse box, but that is a lesson for a different time, is usually found in your basement. And what the circuit breaker panel is the main distribution point for all the electrical circuits in your home. It's made up of these little breaker switches which control the flow of the electrical current. So how do you know which of these breaker switches is connected to which appliances or which rooms? Well, your panel should have a guide or a chart. This should describe the rooms or appliances that each of the breaker switches, which probably have a number, are assigned to. So teens, it would be helpful if the guardians that take care of you go ahead and go over this chart with you. So let's go back to our scenario. Sometimes you have too many appliances running at the same time, or sometimes you have too many plugs plugged into an outlet, and therefore you are overloading the system. So, as a safety precaution, the circuit breaker shuts off the flow of electricity. It can be easily reset, and that's what happened in our house. There were too many appliances being run while we were at home, and the electricity flow to the kitchen shut off. My son had no idea what to do, and over the text and over the phone, I was trying to walk him through how to go to the circuit breaker panel and reset that breaker switch. So, how do you know which breaker tripped? And how do you reset it? Well, let's look right now. So, here is my circuit breaker panel. Let's open the door. I have my circuit breakers with numbers next to them, and then I have my grid over here that also has the corresponding number and what that circuit breaker is connected to. So how do you know which one tripped? Well, each one of these circuit breakers has a little window. And in that window, a circuit that has tripped would show a red, just like this picture here. So you would come over and look for the red, but you also, depending on if you remember what room you were in or what outlets you were using, you could look at your grid and then match it up to the corresponding circuit and then make sure that they're showing red there. And then you just need to reset it. So how do we do that? Well, turn the switch to off, back to on, the red should disappear, and the power should be back to your outlet or the room that you are using. Simple as that. Okay, scenario number 2. The power to your whole house completely goes out. Well, that is probably due to a storm or maybe an accident with one of the power lines or something else that has disrupted the power from the road and those power lines to your house. And in that case, a lot of times you just have to wait it out until the electric company can come and figure out and fix what has gone wrong. But here's what you need to know, especially if this happens in the evening and it's starting to get dark and you're home alone. Yeah, you have that little flashlight that's on your phone. You can use that, but it's probably a good idea to know where all the other flashlights are in your house, plus the batteries to change them out. And if there's an impending storm coming and you know you're going to be home alone, it might be a good idea to get those flashlights ready just in case. You never know what can happen in New England. Okay, here we are at scenario number 3. And that is shutting off utilities. And what I mean by that is the water flow. So say you have an overflowing toilet and it just keeps running and running and running. Or maybe something is leaking by the sink in the kitchen. Or maybe something's going on with the bathtub. Ultimately, if it's leaking so much and you don't want a huge mess, you're gonna have to find those shut-off valves and turn the water flow off. All right, I'm showing you some in my home, but this is also a great time for you to grab your guardian and for them to show you the different types of water shutoff valves you have and where they are located in your home. Here is a water shutoff behind my toilet, and here's one under the sink. So your water shutoff valves might look a little bit different than my water shutoff valves, but now you can generally see where they're located, by your toilet and under your sink. And all you have to do to shut them off is turn them, just like you would be shutting off a hose outside. Okay, scenario number 4, and this might seem weird to you because it has to do with your home security alarm if you have one of those in your house. And I'm sure you're sitting there saying, hey, I know when I come home how to put my little code in and how to stop the alarm. I know that before I leave, I need to put my code in and arm the alarm. But what happens if you put the code in wrong? What happens if you forget? What happens if you think that somebody is home and you come in and you don't get to that in time and the alarm is blaring? Sometimes when scenarios like that happen, you might have some anxiety and not know the correct steps to take. Now, you might get a call from the security company and they might have extra passcodes or safe words that you need to know. So make sure you go over those with your guardian, just in case this unexpected thing happens. Okay, scenario number 5. If you are a teen that is allowed to use the stove and cook something while your guardians are gone, then this is an important one for you. Make sure you know how to put out a grease fire. And under no circumstances should you be using water to put out a grease fire. So, what should you do? Well, first, if you have a lid to your pan or even a large cookie sheet handy, that's what you should grab first, and you should put that right over the pan and the flames. Next, turn off the heat source, the burner. Have some baking soda or salt handy. You can smother the flames with baking soda or salt. As a last resort, you could reach for a fire extinguisher, but make sure it is a Class B dry chemical fire extinguisher. And this is maybe a good time for you to also go over with your guardians where the fire extinguishers are in your home. And as always, if the fire is too large, if their smoke detectors are going off, or even if your carbon monoxide detector is going off, just get out of the house. Call 911 when it is safe to do so. This is probably a good time to remind you that, again, you should go over with your guardians emergency plans in different situations like this. Whew! Wow, we went over a lot that could unexpectedly happen and the solutions to handling it. But this was by no means an exhaustive list. And important. It is important for your guardians to be in on the conversation. So watch this video together and discuss a plan. So that brings us to the end of Essential Life Skills for Teens. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you like it below and share it with your friends. And finally, Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel so you never miss a great video from the Goffstown Public Library. I'll see you again next month when we go over essential life skills for teens. Bye now.